The Texas gerrymandering situation is not just about Texas districts hanging in the balance. It's about the entire country hanging in the balance. Welcome, Doug and Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots. I'll make my case on how this redistricting that Trump is really the inspiration behind, and his team, Harmeet Dillon, et cetera, Greg Abbott, it's going to benefit the Republican Party and further destroy the Democrat Party. If you haven't heard my bias yet, my bias is to destroy the Democrat Party. I want them gone because of who they are and what they do and what they did. That it's all rooted in lies. There's no place in America for a party of lies. And we're going to straighten them out real quick, because I believe if the redistricting case sticks in Texas and we can continue that throughout red states, the Democrat Party will never win another election. And that's good news. I'm Doug TeNapel. Let's go. Look at this. Here's Mike Davis, one of our favorite guys. Dear Republican state legislatures and governors, make this happen. This is from the election wizard. Democrats could lose big between red state redistricting. That is, if we redistrict our red states the way the Democrats have done theirs. And this brings up the ethical question, are we for it or against it? Everyone agrees it's wrong when the other guy does it, but Republicans have always resisted doing it. This goes into my whole theory that the Democrat Party is a lie. They get 15 free points in every election because of the media. That's free marketing, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of lies told through academia. And now and funding through USAID, AID, which DOGE is shrinking and removing the illegal laundering of money into the Democrat Party from our government. So we're draining that money out, canceling PBS, the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party. Trump is suing Disney, winning settlements against news agencies for their bias. Redistricting is another. We're going to get to the votes. Everyone's all about, the votes, the ballots, paper ballots and machines. Guys, it's tiny. I'm all for, we're going to get in there and straighten that out too. Don't worry. That is not the number one issue. It's just the most talked about. I'm here to talk about another issue, redistricting. Democrats would not win if they didn't cheat at the district level, putting together unfair boundaries to give them unfair seats in the House of Representatives. And the House of Representatives and the Senate will end up controlling 1/3 of our country. That's what's at stake. Red state redistricting, SCOTUS possibly shrinking down race-based districts, which, by the way, the Supreme Court's going to swat down as illegal. What got Jasmine Crockett elected is they went into districts and just went by race, knowing they would also be Democrat. And a new census excluding non-citizens, which the census should never have included non-citizens. We're going to get into that too. These factors could collectively cost Democrats 32 to 42 seats in a worst case scenario. Democrats lose 32 to 42 seats. They're not even a party anymore. And our mission to destroy the Democrat Party will be complete. Let another party rise up. Here's more. This is with our buddy Sean Davis. This is a good one. The Constitution requires a full census every 10 years. That's at minimum, he's going to argue. It never prohibits more frequent censuses. And because the most recent census was obviously rigged in 2020, and a new accurate census should be absolutely ordered. See, we're going to live under that rigged 2020 census that over-preferred Democrats and gave them more power and more House seats than Republicans. And so Sean Davis is saying, and Trump is ordering a census now in 2025, halfway between. Otherwise, we'd have to live under this unfair census through 2030 for the next census. See, if there's that big of a mistake, I'm saying if there's a mistake, it has to be fixed. Okay, here's Katie Pavlich on the Democrats with Jesse Waters.
Gerrymander the bejesus out of these maps and just destroy Democrat representation where we can.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're in a war now. We're in a war. Rules, right? They screwed around, and now they're about to find out.
They wrote the rules, their rules, right? California Republicans have 40% of the vote share, and yet they have only 17% of the congressional seats.
California, 40% of the vote share, 17% of the congressional seats. That is not a representative government. The founders designed these districting, and then the states went in and made up their own rules to overdo their seats. And so it's a way that California, by having more representation, more Democrat representation as a state, can be stronger Democrat manipulation force as a state, and it has to be removed. Look at current Illinois districts. I've shown you guys this graphic before. See that blue strip right in the middle of the red? There's no way that's a normal district. I mean, they're just going for Democrat potency. And that district should obviously be collapsed into another one, a red one below it or the red one above it. It would dilute the Democrat vote and then offer another Republican seat. See, and this is true of every Democrat state. You got to think about it now. For just land mass, Democrats tend to own cities. The cities are theirs, population centers. And then they'll go and sprue out a stick going out to try and capture another Democrat neighborhood. By the way, this didn't look this way in 1970. Go back to 1970 on the district map, and you'll see what Illinois really looked like when they were big blocks, chunks of districts. And now this is gerrymandering. Totally anti-representational government.
I think in Massachusetts, it's 35% of statewide vote. They have 0 seats in Massachusetts.
Maryland can't win.
Maryland is very similar in terms of those numbers. But of course, congressional districting also comes down to the census, which did not count properly in the last census, and also counts illegal immigrants for representation in Washington, even though they legally cannot vote. So I say that they should redo the census, get an accurate vote, and not count illegal immigrants for accurate representation of American voters in every state throughout the country.
Oh, is that why Democrats like the migrants? Because it helps them reapportion their votes?
It does make you wonder why they're being so hyperbolic about the situation right now. I mean,
so we've accused the Democrats, and we could be wrong. We've accused the Democrats of just wanting migrants so that they will vote. And that has not been legalized. Chuck Schumer says they want to legalize it in New York. They could do it in lower elections, but not for president, which is ridiculous already. Illegals should not be voting on anything anywhere in this country. And we've said that the Democrats just want them here, 11 million of them here, to vote. But they vote even if they're not allowed to vote, if they're counted in a census. You see that? That is a safer agenda to accuse the Democrats of, because it doesn't require something in the future to happen. It's already happening right now. All of our Democrat districts, if they have overfavorability of illegals counting in their favor in Democrat areas, strengthening them, they're already doing great damage to the House of Representatives. That actually is news to me. I know that it was originally posted, I think in April, by Muse posted that fact, and I just now caught it when one of you sent it to me by tweet. Next up, this is more on Jasmine Crockett. Okay, everyone's favorite lunatic. Okay, here we go. A much-watched smackdown by this guy on Jasmine Crockett doing her ghetto talk.
And so I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color, period. I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats.
She said they hat.
I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats.
Ma'am, you weren't born in Texas. You weren't raised in Texas. You moved here to play dress up in cowboy boots and pander to blue districts. You're not a Texan. You're imported arrogance in a pantsuit.
Out there with their hats.
You mock black MAGA folk and say Trump supporters have low IQs, along with his entire cabinet.
Out there with their hats.
Funny thing is that that's coming from someone who says they hat instead of their hat.
Out there with their hats.
That's not Southern. That's just sloppy Ebonics. You talk down to Texas while butchering grammar, Texan nomenclature.
Out there with their hats.
And you do it on camera.
Out there with their hats.
You're not bold. You're not brilliant. You're just loud.
I love it. Well, I found another MAGA guy with they hats. Here, Jasmine Crockett, he'll straighten you out on the Democrat Party. Here's a MAGA black man with the hat.
The Democratic Party were the primary slave owners. They were the KKK. They were Jim Crow. Blacks vote, in essence, for the party that enslaved their ancestors.
There you go. He uses the N-word later, so I can't quote him, but quoting a Democrat using the N-word, saying they would enslave them, for a generation. Okay, here we go. 16 and 17-year-olds in Colorado are pre-registering as Republicans at a rate of 144% higher than Democrats in 2025. My mom lives in in Colorado. She'll love this news. Republicans, 144% higher. Maybe we'll take this purple state back with Republican registration numbers more than doubling. Guys, if the Democrats lose Colorado and it goes back to Republicans, they're going to have a real problem with the Electoral College when J.D. Vance is up to bat.
16 and 17-year-olds in Colorado are pre-registering as Republicans at a rate of 144% higher than Democrats in 2025, with Republican registration numbers more than doubling Democrat ones every single month in 2025 so far in one of the most heavily Democrat-controlled states in the country. Why do you think so many young voters are running away from the Democratic Party and joining the Republican Party?
Oh, because the Democrat Party are a bunch of feminists. I saw Charlie Kirk on Doug Wilson's show out in Moscow, Idaho, and I love Doug Wilson. And Charlie Kirk said, one thing no one will ever accuse Trump of being is feminine. He's not a feminist, and he doesn't act effeminate. He's masculine, and that's why feminists hate him. That's also why young people, young men especially, I will bet you these votes are coming in primarily, it is young men who are abandoning the effeminate Democrat Party, and they find the muscularity of Trump, his masculinity includes being rude and being blunt and not caring what people think. Those are masculine qualities. I think the culture is turning in a good way, and that's what I'm here to do, is observe culture. Here's more. This is Amuse Census. The U.S. Census Bureau admitted undercounting population in Republican-controlled states like Texas and stealing 2 seats, and overcounting in Democrat-controlled states like Minnesota. The Democrats knew that this couldn't be fixed unless Republicans held the House, the Senate, and the White House. As a mid-decade census to be used for the apportionment of the House of Representatives and Congress. Congress would need to update 13 U.S. Code 14.1E2. It just so happens we have control of all 3 for now. Congress must act now. Here's Trump. I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin to work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention on this matter. This one makes a lot of sense as a great strategy for Trump to push. You can tell already he has assigned Harmeet Dillon on the case. Let's get to her over here on Real America.
Of the precedents that have, some would say required, but certainly enabled race-based districting. And so one of the flavors of race-based districting that states have tried to do over the years, and tried to do because they've been forced to do by plaintiffs, minority groups, plaintiffs, is that you can combine multiple minority groups or count on a certain white crossover group to a minority group to make what's called a coalition minority district under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And in the Fifth Circuit, which Texas is a part of, there was a recent decision in 2023 that struck down this concept of coalition districts, but left alive what is now going to be considered by the Supreme Court a sort of majority minority district. But you have to have a single minority that composes a majority of that district. I know that's a lot, but this is a very convoluted area of the law. So we took a look at Texas, and we found that 4 of their districts in Texas are comprised of these so-called coalition districts. In other words, to get to a special minority district, you have to add together multiple minorities or count on a certain percentage of a crossover white vote. And this is too complex, too weird, and too inconsistent with equal protection. And so we wrote to Texas telling them that even though that law had been struck down a couple of years ago, their districts are now not in compliance with the federal voting rights laws, and so they needed to take action to fix them. That is what triggered the Texas legislature and the Texas governor to call the legislature into session to put new maps together, and that is what caused all these Democrats to spitefully flee the jurisdiction to avoid there being.
So it was Harmeet Dillon that started the whole thing, guys. Remember, she's wonderful. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. I wanted her to be the head of the Republican Party when that whatever her name is, Romney's niece or whatever, when she got shut down, Harmeet wanted the job and they ended up reelecting someone else. But I have been in contact with Harmeet. I actually have a lot of respect for her. And so she's the one who initially went to Texas and said they weren't compliant anymore. And Texas went ahead, started the meetings on redistricting. That's what caused Jasmine Crockett to come out and start flapping her mouth, because she realized she was going to get redistricted out of a job. If they changed the racial makeup of her district, she would not get elected. And this is also going up to the Supreme Court on race-based districting violates the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is why Harmeet Dillon was doing that video we showed yesterday. So I'm showing you how this is all connected. It's complicated, but it makes sense. I'm only saying that, and they are all interconnected. This is Trump doing a masterwork, absolute destruction of the Democrat Party, which is the good news and why the Happy Patriots are so happy.
A quorum. And so I think this is very interesting. You can see that from the extreme reaction of certain people that they are very concerned. And you've seen members of Congress come out, and you've seen Governor Gavin Newsom from my former state of California come out and troll governors of other states over this, that this is an existential threat to the seats that have been gerrymandered for minority congressional candidates who get in there and then keep them for years. And some of these districts stretch 200 miles and they go around multiple counties and they cross bodies of water and they violate concepts in the voting rights laws that have to do with compactness of districts, contiguity of districts, and respect for political subdivisions. For example, the types of lines that are drawn for state legislative districts. These congressional monster districts that look like snakes, and they're really quite
they look like snakes.
Ridiculous. And so the Supreme Court is actually going to be taking up this issue in one step further than the analysis I did for that letter. And so
if they pull out the racial preferences in districting that the Supreme Court does, Democrats are done. Done. Guys, that's why I'm so happy about this particular news. I want them done because they're cheaters. They're liars. They only are in office because they manipulated and cheated the districts and redefined what it means to be a district. They're supposed to be tight clusters, and they look, like Harmeet Dillon said, they look like snakes. Look at Illinois, Pritzker's district, all this. You're going to gut the Democrat Party. Here's more. Breaking: Trump orders the Commerce Department to begin work on a new census. The world is healing. Here's the Hill. Trump orders, okay, let me get down into the article here. I'm going to get 8,000 ads thrown in my face. President Trump said Thursday morning he has ordered the Commerce Department to begin working on a new census, emphasizing that those who are in the country illegally should not be counted in the total, which is ridiculous that they're part of the census. The number of illegals in your country, why don't we also count the number of ghosts? They're not citizens. I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. He says it in all caps. Marjorie Taylor Greene they're also going to underline this in law. Thank you for your attention on this matter, he added. Trump's order comes as he has pushed Republican-leaning states to outline new congressional maps when it's time for us to play, Democrats, here we come, that would be more favorable to GOP House candidates before the 2026 midterms. which will prevent Trump from being impeached. Do you see how this is all connected, my people? Texas in particular has made national headlines in recent weeks as the president said the GOP is entitled to gain at least 5 House seats in the state in next year's election, in the 2026 midterms. And I agree. Is it manipulation? Yes, it's not, but it's not more manipulation the Democrats are doing already to a greater degree. A census is required every 10 years as outlined in the Constitution, minimum required. It is designed to count every resident, not illegal, in the U.S. according to its website. The data gathered in the census determines the number of House seats each state has, and it is also utilized to help dish out hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding to local communities. That's kind of important, I would say. Wait, there's more. This is on the 2 big problems of the Democrat Party. And this is kind of why what we're going to find out, you know, they say when the tide goes out, you find out who has trunks on and who's naked. We're going to find out the emperor is naked, that the Democrat Party does not have any support. That's not me. This is a Democrat talking about how dumb they are.
Is there anything that you heard me say in that monologue you disagree with?
Sean, I wish there was, but unfortunately, you know, for people like myself and folks that are focused on trying to win races and, rebuild our majority, it's horrifying that the party just will not come to grips with the depth of its problems and do the things to get out of it. And you said it earlier.
And I don't want the Democrat Party to do something about it. I want them done. I want them gone. This guy's a Democrat, Dan Turrentine or whatever his name is, Turpentine, Democrat. Why do you care? Why are you in that party, dude? Are you crazy? They don't represent you. Go to a party that represents you. The party that cares about issues, populist issues. Why are you holding on to a party when it is it hates America and hates human beings and is built on a lie? Why are you in the lie party?
There's 2 big problems. The first is our leadership, such as it is terrified of being canceled.
This is my favorite. I'm gonna do that again. The Democrat Party leadership is afraid of being canceled. By who? By the opposition, by Republicans? No, Democrats are afraid of being canceled by Democrats. They're going to destroy their own people. Even Democrats hate Democrats. Even Democrats, they get sent to human resources and it's run by a bunch of leftist Democrats going, oh my gosh, do I have to explain myself to these people? They're going to call me a racist?
Is terrified of being canceled. If they come out and say it's great that the border has been secured, they'll be attacked. If they say that, boys shouldn't be playing girls' sports, as Gavin Newsom and Rahm Emanuel did recently, they were attacked. If they come out and say it's great that the police keep our neighborhoods safe and that they're heroic in their efforts, they'll be attacked.
Democrats are the anti-human, pro-crime, pro-murder, pro-the R word, pro-assault, pro-robbery, carjacking, home break-ins party. That's their brand. I love this. The Democrat brand needs to be shove their face down in the poo-poo and never let their face up.
And the second part is we continue to have no agenda to help the real lives of real people. It's Trump derangement syndrome and this academic stuff about authoritativeness. Until we come to grips with this and start doing this work, we're going to remain in a ditch.
Well, yeah, and why are you in that party with no answers for real people? You just said it. What are you doing there? Here we are in Texas. This is Brian Harris, another day of quorum break. No Democrats, empathetically, no consequences. Texans don't want tough talk. They want tough actions. He's going to send the camera around so I can put you on the floor of what it feels like in Texas. The Democrats abandoned it and fled to other states that were going to get the FBI to track them down and arrest them or replace their seat with Governor Abbott. Watch this.
Hey, howdy neighbors, Brian Harrison here, coming to you from the floor of the House. I'll let you see what it looks around the chamber. We gavelled in, didn't have a quorum, gavelled out, 7 seconds later. Here's the reality, guys. This is another day of the quorum break, and unfortunately, another day with exactly zero consequences for these Democrats who have fled the state. We haven't so much as taken away their parking space. Okay, forget anything serious. There's been no charges filed. There have been no arrests. There have been no Democrats had their chairmanships stripped away from them. Yes, Democrats are chairmen in the Texas House. We've had no seniority dropped. Okay, literally nothing serious. We've got the elected Republican leadership in the state of Texas delivering a lot, like a limitless amount of sternly worded statements and social media posts and threats. Strong language is great. You know what's better? Strong action. The Texans that I work for want these Democrats to be punished. They want them to be arrested. They want them to be brought back here to get about the people's business. So
he sounds like my comment section. It's about a third of you. No one's going to jail. Where's the arrests? I just want you guys to know it's even in the great state of Texas. It's everywhere. It is very hard to get justice. Oh, look here. South Carolina says it may soon join the redistricting fight. Yes! And eliminate their gerrymandered Democrat seat. How do you know the seat is gerrymandered? Just look at the shape of South Carolina there. See the blue? See how it looks like an octopus instead of a chunk? That's a gerrymandered district. When you have to spread out into that other neighborhood and go all spaghetti, it's supposed to be a tight cluster. And they went out and found Democrat neighborhoods and races and and they're just trying to grasp to hold on to their one seat. If you broke up those counties and shared them in these other voting areas, which is what it should look like, you would not have Democrat representation in South Carolina. And I would find that kind of sad, but mostly funny. The FBI has joined the hunt for derelict Texas Democrats. Kash Patel, get these scumbags. FBI grants Cornyn request to hold fleeing Texas legislators accountable. Good man, Cornyn, for a rhino. Good man. Even rhinos do things right every once in a while. I will give him high praise for that. In Austin, Texas, U.S. Senator John Cornyn announced the Federal Bureau of Investigation has granted his request for the federal government to assist Texas law enforcement in locating members of the Texas House of Representatives who have fled the state in a shameful attempt to thwart the legislative process. He says, I'm proud to announce that Director Kash Patel has approved my request for the FBI to assist state local law enforcement. I thank President Trump and Director Kash Patel for supporting and swiftly acting on my call for the federal government. He's really saying like, hey, I called this, everybody. Vote for me. We cannot allow these rogue legislators to avoid their constitutional responsibilities. This is protecting Trump's impeachment. This will destroy the Democrat Party. This is going to go up to the Supreme Court over their racist districting because Democrats have always been racist, as the guy with the hats said in that clip. The universe is healing, guys. Every day I'm getting happier. I'm smiling more and more. More good news to come. If you haven't subscribed, well, come join the Happy Patriots. This is where the party is. I'm Doug in Exile.